What's up, Internet? My name is Ryan Holmberg, and today I'm going to walk you through my new patch that I am calling the Z drum. Z as in ZOIA, and drum as in it's a drum machine slash sequencer slash drum synthesizer. And there's a lot of features packed into this patch, so I'm going to try my best to walk you through everything. Alright, so it has 64 steps total in the sequencer, but it also has an option to either play through only the first half of the sequence, first 32 steps, or only the second 32 steps, so steps 33 through 64. And because both of the sequencers are running at the same time, I have a radio button here that allows you to switch between the two seamlessly. So, for example, I could let the first half run through a couple times and then press the second button here for the second half. So you can kind of play with that a little bit for performance stuff, and then the pink one next to it resets it and has it play through all 64 steps. So when this is lit up, it's the first, and then when that's lit up, it's the second, and then when neither of them are lit up, it is all 64. So let's go back. The first page is the first 32 steps, and right here I have two lights here. The left one indicates that you're on the first page, and then when you go to the second page, this one lights up indicating you're on the second, just so you know which page you're on. I use red to indicate all of the kick steps and parameters. Blue is the snare drum, and yellow is the hi-hat. And then I have three other tracks here. The white one is going to be your microtiming control. So if I were to place a kick drum on the first step, then I would go to the microtiming, and if I were to bring this up on that step, it would make that kick drum lag a little bit, depending on how much you've turned the value up. But the thing about the microtime track is on the third page here, you can select which track it is affecting, because it'll only affect one track at a time, or the fourth button down here will turn it off. So top is kick, snare, hi-hat, and off. And then the final two tracks, these kind of lime green ones, are automation tracks. So you can kind of program motion sequencing. And then it's the same kind of deal on this page, where you can either have them turned off, or basically they only affect one track at a time. So you can modulate or automate two different parameters at once. It can be different tracks, it could be the same track, and I'll show you how to do that. But basically these radio buttons will select which track is being affected by the microtiming and automation. So what to do next? Okay, so let's do automation. So all of these steps are set to the middle of the parameter here by default, and the middle is going to be your 0 point. So if you turn it down, then whatever you are automating will turn that parameter down, and then, you know, if you turn it up, it'll make the parameter go up. And the way that you connect these automations to parameters is on the fourth page here. So you're only going to be focusing on the first 4 pages. It's first half sequence, first half, second half, main controls, I'd say, and then your synth sound parameters. And so these two value modules are receiving the automation from the sequencer. So automation track 1 output is going to be this right here. And then let's say I want to automate the decay of the kick drum. Then you go into the parameters, you find the decay, and then you would hook that up to the decay. And let's get a sequence going so I can show you what that does. I'm just going to make something very basic. So I have a basic pattern going on here. I've connected, let me just have it play through the first sequence only. So I have it connected to the kick's decay. Let's say I want to just automate the decay on the first step. Then I turn that up. And there you go, first one's automated. And then you can also do more than one parameter. May not always work out in your favor, but let's say I want to automate like the kick or something, as well as the decay. And let's say like I like the amount of the decay, but I think the pitch is too high. Then you can go to the pitch and then attenuate it lower. And depending on the attenuation will be how much it affects it. And you can go, I don't know, you can go crazy with that. But I'm going to delete that pitch automation connection because I don't want that. I just want the decay. Just to show you that you can connect it to more than one parameter. And let's say I want to edit the decay time of the hi-hat on some of the steps with the second automation track. So the second output's going to be this one. And I'll go over all these drum parameters in a minute. I'm just doing the automation first. So the hi-hat has a fast decay time for the transient and a slow decay time for like the tail of it. And so if I want to automate the tail of it, hook it up to that, go back, go to the second automation track. Let's see where our steps are at. So it's on this row. Also forgot, have to go to this page and tell it that I want this automation track to go to the hi-hat. And there you go. All right, so now we got the automation covered. I guess I'll show you a little bit of the micro timing too. Let's say I want to lag this step a little bit. So then I would go to the micro timing, go here, make sure that it's selected on micro time for kick. And then I would go to that second step, turn it up. You can hear it's lagging a little bit. Oh, another thing. So I had to extend, like what you're hearing right now is you're hearing it retrig in a way that's not desirable and not intended. And the reason why it can do that is because when you're messing with really slow tempos, you need this to be able to go farther to extend the delay time for that micro timing. And so if it starts to retrig or not play that step, it means you've gone too far. And then you just got to turn this down a little bit. And also when you alter the tempo of the master clock, whether that be the internal LFO that's driving the sequencer or an external clock, which does work with that, by the way. And there's a switch to change that on the third page, this orange one. This is internal, this one is external clock. Right now I'm getting clock from Digitact. But yeah, if you slow down or speed up the tempo of your external or internal, then you will have to adjust your micro timing steps. But as you can hear, this is working. And if you turn that back down, it goes back to where it was. And you can kind of tell, I don't know if you can see the lights flashing here, but you can see this light up when it's supposed to be triggered, but then you hear the sound a little bit later because of the delayed timing. Okay, so that's micro timing. What else? We got the master clock, internal clock. When you're using the internal clock, I use I set it up to be the right foot switch to start and stop it. And This right foot switch will only work if the pedal is in auxiliary mode, which is when this shift button is lit up blue. But in this patch, I have a device control module, and when the patch loads, it automatically turns auxiliary mode on so that the start and stop will work for the internal. And then up here, these blocks, we have mutes, track mutes. So the kick's not working right now. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to fix that right after. That's weird. But yeah, by the time I upload it, all the mutes will work. And then these three are triggers. So you can kind of live perform if you want. And then you also have these triggers on the drum parameter pages. And that's handy for if you're trying to edit the sound of something. You can just hear it real quick if you don't want to have the sequencer running. So let's go over the parameters for the drums now. You have kick volume, kick pitch, volume decay, so how fast it fades out, and then this on and off switch is the slope of the decay. So by default, when this is off, you're going to get an exponential decay, which means like it's like a sharper transient, and then when you turn that on, it'll make it more linear, like a straight line down. And there's a distortion that the kick can go into if you want, and it's more noticeable when the distortion's on, and also with longer decays, it's more noticeable. I usually leave that off because I like a sharper transient. And then here we have a sample and hold pitch decay. Well, it's a sample and hold that is responding to the triggers of that drum sound, and each time it receives a trigger, it will give the pitch and the decay time a random value in varying amounts depending on how much you turn it up. So if you turn it up all the way, I gotta turn my decay down to notice it. The pitch is going to be modulated very subtly, and then decay is a little more noticeable. But this parameter is essentially meant to humanize the sound and make it so you don't have to automate every single step to make it humanized in terms of the decay and slight pitch change. I find it's best around like 25%. Hardly noticeable, but it makes a little bit of a difference with making it sound more natural. So that's the sample and hold thing, the kick trigger. Then you have the beater amount, which is basically just a really fast pitch envelope, and this is the amount of that envelope. And then next to it you have the envelope speed. So all the way to the left will be really fast. And the more you turn it up, the slower the envelope gets and sounds a little more lasery, I guess you would call it. Then you have the slow pitch amount, which, it's like a slow pitch envelope for the tail of the kick. So this is more noticeable when you have longer decays. So that's kind of nice to be able to shape the tail of the pitch. And then these last two parameters for the kick are the distortion input and the distortion output. Input is how much the signal is going into the distortion, and then the second one is basically how loud your distortion volume is. And that's it for the kick. So for the snare, you don't have a master volume for the oscillator and the noise, because the snare is made up of just that, an oscillator, sine wave oscillator, same with the kick, also a sine wave, and the noise for the snare, like the snares. You have independent volumes to control those. For the oscillator, you have the pitch, the decay volume, and then you also have the exponential linear control there. A pitch envelope amount and speed, your trigger, your snare noise volume, the frequency of the noise. So if you want it darker, you can turn that down, but I like it around, I don't know, 70%-ish. Your noise volume decay, another linear exponential control for just the noise. So this one's for the oscillator, this one's for the noise. And once again, these are more noticeable with longer decays, but when they're off, it's more of a transient. So then you have the noise resonance, which can kind of shape the tone of it a little bit. And then you have another sample and hold that is attached to the pitch and decay, kind of like on the snare, or sorry, the kick. And then for the hi-hat, you have volume, pitch, which is, it's basically noise going into a bandpass filter. And so this will set the frequency of the bandpass, which essentially sets the frequency of the hi-hat. You have a attack parameter, so you can slow the attack to make it more like a shaker if you want. You have a fast decay, which is like for the transient. If you want it really punchy, you'll turn that down. And then you have a slow decay, which is for the tail of the sound, which is the one you would want to modulate if you're like doing closed and open hi-hats, or automate, not modulate. Then you have a resonance for the bandpass with the noise going through it. Another sample and hold, which is just modulating the decay. Actually, I believe the snare's sample and hold is also just doing the decay. It says pitch right here, but I think I took that off because it was a little too CPU intensive. I mean, I've been working on this patch for like 2 weeks. It was really hard to get all the stuff working and have it not clip the audio with the CPU hitting above 105, because that's pretty much the clipping point once it reaches 105. I think when it's on, it hits like 103, 104, so it's really close. So I had to be very selective about the parameters I included here. And then on the end, you got your trigger. So yeah, this one, once again, this is the decay sample and hold mod. So every hi-hat hit will have a slightly different decay. I mean, we also automated it with the second track, but you get the idea. And that is about it as far as the parameters go. A couple tips that I noticed while I was working on this and playing with it. I find it the easiest, like if you're going to start messing with the automation tracks, or the microtiming for that matter, it's good to save a copy of the patch before doing that, because like, see, I've like automated like random steps. You have to then, like if you want to change it, you have to then go back and find these steps, and it's really annoying to set it back to the middle, which is A5, by the way. And so if you do need to do that, then I find the easiest way is to just swipe your finger across the rows, and then you'll just watch that to see if there's any changes. Where are they? Thought I had some automation going on here. Maybe I already changed it. But yeah. Oh, there it is. So yeah, if you swipe across and notice one's off, then you can do that. But it's easier to save a copy of the track and change it. And if you need to change it, like reset the patch to the default. Unless you really like it, obviously save as many copies as you want if you make different beats with it. And what else was I gonna? What's the other one? Oh, okay. Another thing I noticed, which I didn't realize until I was making this, when you press a track to select it, they're all dim up here. So all you got to do is press. And I noticed like it's kind of annoying if you like go to this and you want to change it and you like press one and you don't know if it's already lit up or not. So if you hit the track and hit back, it'll show you the steps without you needing to make a change before you see it, essentially. So select a new track, hit back, and you can see the steps that are already shown. Also, one thing that's kind of annoying about the sequencer is whenever you hit stop, the step that's moving stops on the one that it stopped on, and it makes it look like that track is enabled, or that step is enabled, but it's going to stay lit no matter what until you restart the sequence. So just be aware of that. And I think that's about it. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. I may make more versions of it. There were previous versions I was experimenting with, like putting reverb on the snare, but at the end I didn't feel like it was worth the CPU because I didn't think it made it sound that much better. I experimented with putting the snare and hi-hat through the distortion as well, but ultimately decided that those extra VCAs that I needed to make that work weren't worth the CPU because it just didn't sound that much better to me personally. And yeah, if there's anything that you want me to change about the patch, like little things, I mean, I'm not going to rework the entire patch for you, but if there's like little things that you want to change, you can reach out to me and I can tell you what needs to be done to fix that. Like, for example, if you want this sample and hold stuff to like only affect the pitch and not the decay at all, or the other way around, then I can tell you how to fix that. But yeah, just let me know if there's any basic changes you need. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to put it up soon, and have a good day.